Hi, it's Lisa here from Soul to Soul Yoga. I thought I'd do a short tutorial on how to improve your garudasana, your eagle. But I'm just going to focus on the arms part for today because I've had a few requests for actually how we can improve what is a tricky kind of bind. What my probably my favorite shoulder stretch. But it can be intense. So if you're a little tighter, bringing your hands like this, kind of binding around, can be tricky. So I'm going to give you a few little drills that you can practice. Now, one of the issues why this might be hard is chest size is one, proportions is another. So in all of our poses, sometimes proportion and the way our body is set up um, can change how we approach the pose or its accessibility. So if you've got bigger boobs, then it's going to be harder to get your arms around them. If you've got a bigger chest if you're a woman or a man who kind of work out, sometimes they struggle as well. Or if you've got beefy, strong biceps and deltoids and all of this, that can make it really a bit more challenging as well. But if that's not the case, if it's not just a case of physically not being able to get the arms around, it's probably a case of tightness. And when we're thinking about stretching, we can do routines, we can do drills, and they will all improve our outcome. But what you also want to do is have a think about what is it that you're doing on a daily basis that might be creating some tightness and imbalance. Many of us, we sit at a computer too long, maybe even laptops, which are really bad for it. We kind of like feel laptops, especially since working at home more, many of us. Just having a little think, a little unpick. So good posture is key, trying to keep that chest open, shoulders relaxed, and keeping some relaxed nature and stretch the shoulder girdle. That can be tricky, but I'm going to show you a few tricks you could do several times a day and see if that improves. I'm going to take my top off so you can actually see my shoulders as I do this, which is not just good for eagle arms, but possibly just a nice shoulder stretch anyway. So I always like to warm up anyway. So you could just do your normal yoga warm up, but I mean, really just kind of getting into the shoulders. And I'm going to be kind of freestyle to start with a little bit of back. So I'm moving my body, which is to start with as we warm up, and then forwards. Is kind of moving a little bit into the waist, because like anything, it's not just one area that often is tight, it's a whole chain through the body. So we'll focus on the shoulder and upper back, but equally, just warm up properly, maybe even doing a few sun salutations and take the arms back, trying to keep the chest in a little bit, the lower ribs in and the tailbone under. So I'm really working the shoulders and the other way. Now, if you think about eagle arms, what are we actually stretching? We're stretching the upper back. As we move the arms forwards, we're protracting through the shoulders, so shoulder blades are moving towards the armpits. We're stretching the deltoids, so the muscles, the side of the arm, as well as a little bit into that lower arm for the bind. But the trick really is getting the arm over enough so that you can bind easily. If it's not over enough, that's really tricky. If it's only just over, again, I can't, it's really tricky to bind. So it's getting that arm over the lower arm enough, which requires the openness in that shoulder, upper back, and the deltoid and this outer arm. So first drill, actually, we're just going to do some rolls. So opening and rolling, almost like a butterfly pose. So you're stretching a bit like a cat-cow, protract the shoulders. You could do this on the floor, you could do it seated. That's why I thought I'd do one that was just focused on this, so you don't have to particularly do anything. Right, and release. Take your hands on your shoulders, elbows back this time. So you might hear some crunching, round your back, open the chest, really get some movement into that thoracic. So I quite like dynamic warm-ups when I'm doing any particular, focusing on a particular pose. I like a dynamic, which means a moving warm-up, and then round the other way. It just really gives the joints a little bit of heat, as well as some suppleness before we do deeper stretches. Okay, so first one we're going to do, which is kind of old school one that you would do in a gym often. You would do this, so you take the arm over the body, and then you take your hand and give a little pull. So you can see I'm stretching into the shoulder. Try to keep the arm in line with the shoulder. might be quite intense. If you can, you might even take the other arm and give that a little bit of a pull. Now try not to go around to the side, pull yourself back even, feel more of a stretch. You should hold these poses if you're trying to improve range of motion. Breathe into it slowly, steadily, keep relaxed. As you feel that the stretch is easing off, take a little bit deeper, but hold it for at least 30 seconds to a minute if you can. Again, a little and often is more beneficial than a lot every so often. So if you can do this several times a day, you'll start to hopefully see a bit more suppleness. And then we'll just relax and then do the other side. Again, you can see I'm stretching into the whole of the side of the arm. Try to keep it in line, pull back through the left shoulder, and then really strengthen. And when you feel, that you're at the edge of the stretch, hold it there, breathe into it. Nice, soft, relaxed focus. Take it a little deeper if you can. I'm not going to hold it as long, but you can hold it for a little bit longer. And then release. We really want, if you think about when we protract shoulders, we're moving the shoulder blades away from each other, but we're also shortening here. So we're going to take a stretch into the front of the chest. So take your hands behind you, interlace the fingers and press the palms together. If this is too much, you could have a strap and lift up that way, or you could have a bend to the arms. Try to open the chest and feel that stretch in the collarbones. Now, shoulder blades rolled down and back. So this is in the eagle, we would have the shoulder blades would want to be down, not up. So they're down, even though the elbows are up. We're still trying to keep that openness there in the neck. Lovely, and release. And again, you can hold things a little longer or a little bit shorter. Another stretch, this may or may not be accessible. I'll give you options. Take the hands behind the back, take the hands into prayer and the elbows out. This is really stretching the wrists and the forearms. And you can do this and press the hands together, elbows come. And this stretches these muscles. Yeah, really good. So when we're doing this, again, we'll want a bit of suppleness in this area. If that's not accessible, you can do this one, but you're not getting the stretch into the wrist. You'll still be getting a little bit of openness through the chest, but I would say this one. So really just stretching the wrist up and down, and the other one. And again, I'm not going to hold it too long, but you can hold it as long as you like. And this is a really nice one to do, especially if you use a keyboard a lot. I've been doing a bit of keyboard work today, so I'm a little bit stiff. Lovely, and release. And then when you're nice and supple, and nice and warm, we'll have a go. So I'm going to say, take the right arm over the left. Take it as far as it'll go. Start by holding your shoulders. This is option one. So even if you're just working, you could, as a little warm up, if you don't do full eagle arms all the time, grab your shoulders and kind of wriggle your hands back a little bit like that. Remember when you were a kid, you used to do this like, ooh, who's cuddling you? Oh, actually that cramped my arm. So right over left and use your hands to kind of pull yourself a little more. You should be getting a little stretch. We can do the other side. And again, give yourself a little hug. Lift the elbows and release. Let's do it again. This time, right side, far as you can get it. This is the trick. The further you can get it over, the more chance you have. You're then in this V shape. So option one, we grab a strap between the hands and you can wriggle your hands close together. Let's see if we can. Now take the right arm as far as you can forward, again, giving yourself a little bit more space to grab. And then what often happens is you might be grabbing the thumb, or it might feel like horrible on the wrists or the hands. So you're really trying to get it round so you can place the hands together. There's no getting away from it. It is a strong stretch in that shoulder and deltoid. So when you have the bind, if you don't use a strap until things get a bit more supple, shoulders are down, but lift your elbows a little bit and move the hands away from the face. Even if it's really tight, even if it's just for a couple of breaths and then you ease it off a little bit, couple of breaths, ease it off. And this over time, because most of the stretching we do, most of the poses that are hard, is really helping to train your nervous system to be strong and to take the kind of that edge the stretch to the edge and a little beyond, but without hurting yourself. And so sometimes that requires us to just to hold something, breathe into it. So maybe hold again 30 to 60 seconds. One side is often tighter than the other because we have one arm that is dominant. Try the other side, left over right. This is a little easier for me because generally, if you're right-handed, your right side will be beefier and the left side a little less so. So again, get it over as far as you can, and then really try to get as much space as you can before taking it, which is a bigger stretch in that shoulder. And again, we can move up and down a little bit, moving the shoulders down, but the elbows up, hands up, moving the hands a bit away from the face if possible. That will give you a even more stretch. And then holding it for 30, 60 seconds. Try and keep the ribs in, by the way, when you're doing these exercises. If you're arching the back, you're going to get in a back bend, which isn't a bad thing. It feels quite nice, but that's not what we're after. We're actually after pure protraction in the shoulder blades. Oh, that was good. And relax. Give your shoulders a little shrug out. So there you go. Garudasana arms, eagle arms. Give it a try. With some of these poses that are hard, it's just a case of repetition. A little and often, keep doing it, keep working, be aware, of what you're doing. So you could be sat watching telly and you think,